go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Norma Juarez, and I work in the Alumni Relations Office at UNC. Thank you for joining us today for the Alumni Career Panel, Careers in Performing and Visual Arts. We are honored to be hosting such an amazing group of alumni and professionals from across the United States. I want to share a couple of housekeeping items with you all before we begin. This event is being recorded and will be available on demand after the event. I will share the link in the chat section of the event. Two, I will be sharing the panelists' contact information so that you can connect with them if you choose to, and if you want to ask follow-up questions. So make sure that you open your chat section so that you have access to that information. And then number three is that once we are done with panelist introductions, I will go off of screen and just let you enjoy seeing our panelists this evening or this afternoon. And I will come back shortly before the event concludes so I can share a closing statement. Now, if I can please have all of our panelists introduce themselves. Can you please start by introducing yourself, stating your name, your title, your company, your UNC degree, and just tell us a little bit about yourself. And Heather, we will start with you.
Hi, I'm Heather Washburn. I'm a casting assistant currently at Bowling Misha Casting, which is for film and TV here in New York City. My degree was in musical theater. So I came out to New York to try to be an actress, except I quickly realized that I was so curious about the other side of the world. I found myself always wanting to know what was going on the other side of the table. So from there, I got some internships. So I've worked in theater, in casting offices, and then I flipped over to film and TV. So I've been doing that since about 2017, with all sorts of different offices, different genres. I did The Irishman, The Deuce for HBO, and some stuff for like Stars and Hightown. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Julio?
Hello, everybody. My name is Julio Mendoza, and I was a first generation student from UNC, and I graduated in 2012 with a degree in criminal justice, which is completely different with what I'm doing right now. I'm an artist, a muralist, and I would, as the discussion goes, I would explain a little bit more about why I'm a criminal justice major, but I'm a artist and a muralist right now. So, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Julio. Jamie?
Hi, my name is Jamie Ann Romero, and I'm an actor based out of New York City. I graduated from UNC in 2007 with a BA in theater. I am also a Denver, Colorado native, and I worked in the theater community in and around the Denver area up until about 5 years ago, and then I moved to New York, and now I'm here.
Thank you so much. Now I am going to hand it over to Nick, who will be our moderator this afternoon. Nick?
Hi, my name is Nick Kenny. I graduated with my Master of Music Education in 2016 after moving out here from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm now the Executive Director of the Greeley Philharmonic Orchestra, one of the oldest continually operated professional orchestras west of the Mississippi River. And as a side gig, I'm a radio host and podcaster of a show called Nick Snacks. And I'm happy to be here moderating for this panel today. So we'll get started with Jamie. How did your UNC experience help you launch into your career and arrive at your current position?
Wow. Well, my time at UNC was incredible. And I think the UNC Theater Department was truly a community. And for a community to work, it requires teamwork and collaboration. And I think those are values that I learned there, and I continue to carry them with me today. And to receive your BA in theater, you get to take a lot of classes in all aspects of theater, not just your major. And I really loved learning more about everything that goes into making a play. I was also able to take a UNC summer intensive with the artistic director of the Colorado Shakespeare Festival, Philip Sneed. And that led to my first professional job out of school. And I also think I learned a lot from my classes outside of the theater department. I do think I found that sense of community, not just in the theater wing, but across UNC as a whole. And once you get out into the real world, community and collaboration and kindness will get you far. And I think that's how UNC really helped me launch my career.
But genuine kindness, right? Not fake kindness.
Yeah, real kindness. Come on.
Exactly. Great. Julio, what about your UNC experience?
All right, well, I guess my experience at UNC helped me launch into my career and arrive at the position where I am right now. And not because of the major that I took, or the major that I graduated with, because it was criminal justice, but because all of the life experiences I had and I learned while being a student. And I'm talking more about learning how to network, how to research things, how to utilize like resources, and how to make things easier for me. Sometimes it's better to use resources, and it's more convenient to, like in my case, to pay someone else to help me with something that has to do with do prints of my art and things like that. So what I gain most of it is like experience of real life, and not just because with my career or my degree.
As a side follow-up question, we can ask this later, but did you ever see yourself as an artist? Did you dabble in that while you were at UNC?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I forget to mention that I started as a art major my first semester, and I think I got kind of a lot of people would tell me that that was not like a real career, that I wasn't gonna find a job with the art degree, and I guess it just got to my head, and I had someone that was taking classes in criminal justice and business, and I took intro to criminal justice and intro to business, and I'm bad with math, so I went with criminal justice, and I ended up with that degree. I did work my degree for 3 years, but after having my own office and having like a secure job, I just sometimes inside me didn't feel like I was being like honest to myself. So I left my job, and then it's been like 3 years that I started my career as an artist and muralist, and I mean, so far it's going great.
Fantastic. That's great to hear, Julio. I think
Thank
many of us in the performing arts, as we were going through school, if we had a nickel for every time that we heard we weren't going into a career that paid, we wouldn't have as many student loan debt as we had right now. So kudos to everyone on this panel today. Heather, what about you? Tell us about your UNC experience.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of what Jamie said, the theater program at UNC is this huge family. You start off with a small group of maybe 20 kids in your program, and you kind of build your way up through each year, right? So I was fortunate enough to have a group of friends in that community that wanted to also move to New York, right? So right after we graduated, you have that kind of like family vibe, so that you're moving out to New York. There's people here You know, people still can reach out and be like, hey, I just graduated from UNC. You know, what do I do? And I'm like, great, this is how you find a subletter. This is how you find a job. This is how you know, get on the train. But more than that, also at UNC, they bring in great guest artists for our programs. You know, from there, I was able to meet with talent agents, and they bring in casting directors, right? And so you start to build your network with these people. You know, usually you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be an actor, but from there, I was able to then use those contacts to reach out here, and you know, try to see like, hey, is this something I want to do? How do I do what you do? Since I didn't, you know, going in school, I thought I'm going to be an actress, but it's just this big family vibe, which I think really, really helped get me, you know, out of New York out of Denver to New York. And I know lots of people have done it in LA. They form little communities in Denver. It's like this little artist community from UNC. And so Nick, what about UNC launched your career?
I was unusual. I came out here from Indiana in 2011 and began studying at UNC, and took a couple of years off. And this was the time where I think I really dabbled in some other professions and realized that music was where I wanted to be. You always have that question lingering in the back of your mind, kind of like with Julio, and knew that my place was in music. I had built up a pretty kind of a strong personality during my undergrad years and carried that to UNC. And when I finished my degree in 2016, after a couple of years off and coming back and returning, you know, I had made a lot of connections all over the community, working with high school bands and marching bands, starting a private trumpet studio, and just performing all along the Front Range, and building that community here in Colorado really grounded me here, and fell in love with the mountains and stuff coming from Indiana. And then was offered a great position during my last year before I was student teaching with the Greeley Philharmonic Orchestra as an administrator. And that's where I fell in love with this community, particularly in Northern Colorado, the people here, the businesses here, the leaders that we have here, and kind of knew that I had found my way and found my path. And even though I'm not a music educator now, I feel like I can do a lot more for the community through this position than I could have in a classroom. So that's a little bit of my experience at UNC. Heather, you were talking a little bit about your network, and you started developing your network early on at UNC, kind of taking that initiative, talking with folks. How have you grown that, and how did you apply that to your professional years?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in the casting world out here and in LA, it's all very network based. You know, most of the time I don't submit a resume. You know, I get people that email me, and I had to start, you know, from the very beginning. So it started with internships and reaching out to certain casting directors that had been, you know, brought into UNC. Rachel Hoffman, for example, did a lot of our showcase work, and she's a casting director with Tulsi, right? So it was taking that tiny little nugget of what I did get from UNC, and then going forward with it. So you know, I had my internships. I worked, and I think with Jim Carnahan, I think for 9 months before they were like, okay, it's time to go. So they ended up putting me forward for a job at a talent agency. So from there, I took that job, which is a little different. Think of casting as buying and talent agents as the sellers. So I sat there, but when you're a talent agent, you are contacting casting directors every day. So it's this open line of communication. So when it was time, I found a job in casting, which is what I wanted to get into. I used my contacts at the talent agency, plus all the casting directors that I had spoken to get myself into that interview. And from there, that, you know, I've been sitting in casting since then, but the person who took me out of the theater casting office was a former assistant at that casting office. So it's kind of like finding all the people that want to help your career grow, want to help you. And I think in casting, we really are a tiny community where we want everyone to succeed. I can't tell you how many times people text me and say, hey, are you available for this project? It starts shooting, or we start in a week. Can you do it? And I'm like, I can't. However, have you talked to this person? They're really great. So it's like going to all the events, doing the book clubs. If you get if you get the invite, just like jump in, full feet, dive in and go with it. Be nice, learn who people are, and just like check in with people because they want you to succeed. And Nick, what about you? Like, what do you, let's see, how have you built or strengthened your network as well?
I kind of built mine from the ground up here in Greeley. I didn't know anybody when I moved out here. And when I got in this position 3 years ago, how I see it is you're only as strong as those people you surround yourself with. And I think it's really important to get as involved as possible and to know who these connectors are in the community. So the first thing I did was join the Chamber of Commerce and start participating volunteering. Just building that network and surrounding myself with really great people to support my weaknesses and to help my strengths grow. I don't know if I'm connecting where you lost my audio or not, so I'm just kind of picking it up and running with it. And network's my biggest strength. Networking is something I do very well. I love chatting with people. I love talking to people, and I love connecting other people too. It's nice to be able to have anybody in your back pocket whenever you might need anything, whether that's for your job, for your house, for a friend's house, for anything like that. So I'm a connector, I'm a relationship builder, and that's kind of how I've see my position in the community and with the orchestra, to be that connector, to grow that network. Question for all of us, and we're going to start with Julio. If you could go back in time to when you first stepped into your career, this can be either the criminal justice work you've done or your artist work. What piece of advice would you give yourself?
I guess if I could go back to the beginnings of my career as an artist, like the most powerful advice I can give myself would be to not be scared to fail. And because I'm doing what I love. So I'm a strong believer that if you do whatever you feel in your heart to do, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be competitive, and people are gonna tell you otherwise, you're not doing the right thing or you're not gonna find a job. But my best advice would be to just believe in myself and push myself, and be confident in what I do. Because at the end of the day, the only one that's gonna be doing my career, living my life, is gonna be me, not my friends, not my parents, not my family. So I guess that's like my best advice I would give myself at the beginning of my career. But
yeah, not being afraid to take that leap, that blind leap of faith. So kudos to you, Julio. Jamie, you knew you always wanted to be an actress. What piece of advice would you give young Jamie from 13 years ago?
Oh man, I would give her so much advice. But I think, Julio touched on it, and we've all talked about it, but we talk about being kind to everybody. And I think one of the things I neglected was being kind to myself, because you're not always going to be like person A or be as good as person B, but you are yourself and you're unique, and that's what makes you special. And I wish I would have been a little kinder to myself. And I also would encourage myself to be braver, to really dive in and take those choices and take those chances, because, we only have this one beautiful, brief life, might as well live it to its fullest. And that's what I'm trying to do today.
Are we going to get the hashtag YOLO going again during this little panel here? Let's bring back YOLO. Heather, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
To learn how to unmute quicker on Zoom, but we're still working on that. Again, piggybacking off of all of that, I think it's trusting my instinct, not being so scared of you know, what I have to say, like what I have to say is valuable. I have input too. And sometimes I work through it all the time, right? Like an opportunity comes and it's like, ooh, I don't know, am I good enough for that? You know, and eventually you just have to like take a deep breath and try, right? You know, there, and again, your network will be there to help hold you up. So definitely, I think it's trusting yourself, trusting your instincts, knowing that you're in the right place at the right time. Nick, what about you?
I guess the first one would be maybe update my computer before doing a Zoom call, because that might not have had that microphone glitch, but you know, whatever. I think what I would have told myself when I started this job and dove into this career is something from Hamilton, which is talk less and smile more. I had a tendency to kind of go in guns blazing and trying to get my younger thoughts just moved right along in meetings, and instead of listening to what everyone else has to say. And now when I'm a meeting, no matter what meeting I'm in, whether it's in a boardroom or in an advisory role, I sit back and I listen and I absorb everything, so I can hear what all the questions, the concerns, the pluses and the minuses of everything that's being discussed, and I can take some time and think through and be, well, hopefully very well spoken when I have finally something to say. And I think that helps to carry some weight and some clout, is to take a step back and listen, because although you might think you have all the answers, you really don't. You don't have all the sides and the views that others might have. So it helps to just talk less and smile more. Which leads to our next question, the most rewarding aspect of your current position. So I'll start with this one. I fell in love with the Greeley community. It's a really special place. It reminds me a lot of my hometown, a big city with a small town feel, where you feel like you know everybody if you're connected in that way. Going into Margie's near UNC and just seeing people on a regular basis, and that's that way in a lot more places than just Margie's in Greeley. And I like knowing people. I like seeing people. I like being recognized. I like having conversations with anybody and everyone. And I really like when people feel like they're heard from me. And anything they have to say, whether it's just at a quick stop at a coffee shop or the distillery and just saying hi, is to make sure that everyone's heard and recognized and seen. And I like that vibe I get off. And I love being who I am in the community and feeling and seeing the difference that I'm making. And it's really hard to do. Some people spend their whole careers trying to see that difference, even though they are making a difference in the community. And it's nice to see some of that right away with how you're serving and how you're giving back. So that's been incredibly rewarding to me. I can see the output of what I put into this job, not just with the orchestra, but into the community. And that helps to fill my cup, my self-care, and just to feel valued and like I'm making a difference, as Jamie said, in this very brief time we have here. And I think that makes my position very special, and the role I have in Greeley very special. Jamie, what's the most rewarding aspect for what you do?
Well, first, Margie's. Oh, I miss Margie so much. I worked there for 3 years, you guys.
I have a meeting there tomorrow morning, so I'll have a little moment of silence for you, Jamie. Just take a nice sip.
Say hello to it for me, please. I think the most rewarding aspect of my career right now is sharing varied and diverse stories with varied and diverse audiences. I think art and theater should be accessible to everyone. And when it is, that's when the real magic happens. So yeah, that's the most rewarding aspect for me.
Wonderful. This has impacted so many of us, the pandemic, COVID-19. So many of our fields, not just the arts and cultural organizations, but businesses alike across the country, across the world, have had to pivot and change. So Heather, in your world, what are some hurdles you've had to overcome in your field? We'll just talk about, actually, no, we all know that we've been pivoting from COVID. So outside of COVID, how have you had to pivot over the last decade or so?
Outside of COVID.
We'll get to COVID soon, I'm sure.
I mean, because everything right now, unfortunately is, for us, it is all based on COVID right now. But I mean, when I pivot, like we'll start with pre-COVID, right? Like when I was an actress waking up every morning, to go to the auditions, and it was 4 a.m. and cold, and maybe I didn't get seen because there were hundreds of girls that looked just like me in line. It was a big pivot going, wait, stop. How do I make a real resume? How do I interview with someone? How do I sit down at a table and tell someone I want to be their intern? And how do I sell myself that way? So I think that was a pretty big pivot to get to where I am now. And then again, it's the networking that we have been discussing. Right now in this field, I can say that I'm lucky that I am in film and TV right now. We are desperately trying to get up and running. We are running. The show that I'm working on right now is shooting in North Carolina, but we deal every day with how to get actors there. How are people safe? How is the set safe? What are the new protocols that we need to focus on? More importantly, my office is making a list of every Broadway actor that had a job. We are writing their names down, and we are trying to figure out, make sure we get them seen on all of our shows, and that list, I guarantee you, once people find out that list exists, it's going to go around to all the offices, because again, we are a family. The arts is so important to New York City, to LA, to Denver, all over. It's what people need to escape, AKA escape COVID. I'm sure everyone knows that Netflix was being binged, March and April. So, I mean, like our industry is pivoting to try to figure out how to get actors jobs. That's the most important thing, is that we are all working. That's long story about pivoting in the industry.
That's the newest buzzword of 2020 is pivot. I think every business is using that. Also, circling back. That's another word that is routinely.
Oh, that's not new. That's been in my world for a very long time. Circling back.
Sure. And I don't know how many times I say it in a normal meeting. Circling back. How are you?
Now it's refresh.
Yes. The buzzword of the week is refresh. Julio. How have you had to pivot? In your career, when you first started, when you got over the criminal justice track and you started becoming a full-time artist, and how have you had to change that in just the last 8 or 9 months with COVID?
I guess during this pandemic, it's a lot of things have changed, and in my case, it's my second year as a professional, like doing this as a living. Doing it part-time, but doing it as a living is my second year doing it professionally. So I'm still growing on this. And so this year being my second year, and then having all this pandemic going on, a lot of the projects that I had, I lost them, but thanks for this. I was able to stay home and work on a lot of commissions that I had. So it gave me the time to actually work on things on my own and put more time into the commissions that I was working at home, and actually make some income. And it was like a hard moment during this pandemic, but it's right now the things are getting better. I'm getting like way more projects and murals jobs than I was doing last year. So it's been like things went from 0 to right now it's going well, I can say.
Thank you, Julio. I think Heather hit it too, pretty spot on. Is in a world of a pandemic, when we're trapped inside as the weather is about to turn, people are turning to the arts, whether that's Netflix, movies and TV shows, or the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals that are coming out every now and again for YouTube, and also art. And I see it a lot with people redecorating their homes and looking locally to artists to supply them with that art inside their house. And I think despite everything, there's been some okay things that have come out of COVID, and I'm a guy who can find a silver lining just about anywhere. So let's go through everybody and what's been some silver linings with COVID and how you've kind of coped throughout this entire pandemic, for lack of a better powerful word. But how have you found those silver linings to get you up the next morning, to help you tackle the next challenge that you have? Heather, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, COVID was tough, right? Like when it first hit, I just started working on a mini series on March 9th. It was shooting in London, Nigeria, and New York. And on March 13th, that job went away. So it was hard watching all of my friends lose everything really fast, right? From there, it was making sure everyone had their health in New York, because I had it. I know so many people that did. We didn't know that it was coming. We had no way to protect ourselves. So it was making sure everyone was safe, your community was safe. We had our little bubbles. I was fortunate that I did end up working with a staffing company, working with the nurses that were deployed to New York City. And then again, in July, I went down to Texas. So I've been working a majority of the time, things I wish I maybe could do more or had time for, watching all the shows that I haven't gotten to see yet, because now I'm working again and everyone's like, have you seen this documentary? Have you seen this? Have you seen The Queen's Gambit on Netflix? And I'm like, oh, no, let me write that down on my list. I feel like I've run out of time that way. But I have learned how to appreciate the stillness of my apartment. My roommate and I never used to see each other, and now we're great friends. It's learning what your community is in Astoria. I never really spent time here. I was always in Manhattan, and now it's like I go to my local bar and support my local coffee shop, and I don't pay all the money to go into Manhattan every day. So that's my silver little lining for COVID.
Little silver linings anywhere we can find. Jamie, any silver linings that you've discovered along the way the past several months?
None. I'm just kidding. It's been great. I think kind of to what Heather said is it's afforded me the opportunity to slow down. I do think that those of us in the arts, and even if you're not in the arts, we're always hustling. We're always working for the next job or the next thing. And that can be exhausting, and it can take its toll on you. It can take its toll on your personal relationships. So this time to reflect and be on my own has been really wonderful. And also I've found that I've been talking to my friends more, because we've been doing Zoom hangouts and like socially distanced hangouts. And so it's been really great in some ways. And like in a professional standpoint, a lot of the film and television auditions, well, almost all of them, are self-tape submissions. And so it's helped me up my self-tape game. I have, better lighting, I have a better background, and now I'm able to watch my tapes and learn from my mistakes, or learn what went well and what didn't go well. And so that's been super educational. But mostly I've just been playing Animal Crossing, you guys.
And not the cello behind you. You've been playing Animal Crossing, but not the cello, huh?
No, that's my fiance's. I wish I could play it.
Oh, the cello is a great instrument, one of my favorites. Julio talked a little bit about the silver linings of getting caught up on some projects and still having the art, which is just good. And I encourage, it's hard for everyone to find a silver lining during this time. So as we have this stillness every now and again, and I'm going to finish talking really fast before the fire truck goes by again and ask the question, but try to get those silver linings. Yeah, downtown Greeley. We love the fire station #1. They're great folks down there. We've all talked a little bit about following your gut in spite of the advice we were given with our career path. And for each of us, how did you find the courage to do it, and what helped you along the way? Julio, let's start with you.
I'm sorry, can you say the question again? I think.
Absolutely. We're going off script now, folks. So we did not rehearse this. All day today, we were going over these answers. No, just kidding. Is following your gut in spite of the advice you were given to pick a different career? How did you find the courage along the way to make that leap into art, and what helped you along the way?
Okay. Yeah, I guess, like I said, to have the courage to do that transaction from criminal justice to the art world, it was I don't know, it was hard for even telling my friends and my family, my parents, that I was gonna leave my job and I was gonna go into arts. But I don't know, I guess during that time I was reading a lot, just kind of getting to know me more and things that I really wanted. And it did get to me like I said, I didn't want to live the only life that I wanted, just doing something that I wasn't completely happy with. So that really pushed me to really find a way to do what I love. And it was I've been always drawing. I was always drawing, and when I started in UNC with the art degree, that was my main point, to end up with that degree and then be a full-time artist as a living. And that was in the back of my head. And then, so it just got to me that I had to do it, and that even if I was never gonna, if I was gonna, it was gonna be a long process, but I was still gonna do it. I was gonna enjoy the process. And right now, that's my main, what pushes me to continue every day is I want to do what I love. And even if I don't, I want to live and die doing what I love. So that's my main, but yeah.
Absolutely appreciate that, Julio. In the acting world and the professional musician world, you take auditions left and right, and I think you're told no so many times. It's amazing the amount of rejections I've received as a musician. I'm sure Jamie's received and Heather's received. So with that being said, all the rejections and being told no, Jamie, what did your gut tell you to do, and how did you find the courage to just keep on going on?
Well, I suppose it's because I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And this is where I find true happiness. It, really fulfills me, and it's something that I love, and I love being a part of this community, and I love telling stories. And of course, there are those days where you're like, what am I doing? But I just couldn't picture any other life. Yeah.
Heather, are you one of those people who tells people no?
Guilty.
Oh,
We're
no,
guilty.
we're calling you out.
However, I will say, I think one of the most rewarding aspects of casting is when we get to say yes. There is no better feeling than we work with actors every day, and we get to know them, and we fight for them, and whenever someone is the yes, it's great because we know that their day, maybe their life is about to change. And so we're also the ones that get to make that, well, not really that call, we call their agent, but we're a part of that. And it's what makes all the long hours and the abuse that sometimes comes with it. It makes it 100% worth it. And when you see that final product and you've got your full cast, it's amazing. There's no better feeling. That's why I'm on this side, and Jamie, is on the camera side.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much. I don't know if I have much to contribute to that. I just kind of nursed my way into an administrator career from education because I knew just with my personality that I'd struggle being told no when it came to sustaining a music program in schools. It's not a fight that I wanted to fight my entire career of defending why a music program should exist in a school. And I felt again that I should be able to do more for a community. So it was a very easy transition to administration, even though I had zero business experience, a lot of different careers in my life, a lot of what not to do, and then bettered myself through development books and business books and just learning along the way and taking as many classes and lectures and webinars that I could to be the best that I could be. Kind of that musician tenacity that you have, just not taking no for an answer, and to dust yourself off when you get knocked down and pick yourself back up again. And knowing that, again, that you're making a difference and not being afraid. I mean, it's terrifying. It's so scary, especially in the arts, especially right now, but just knowing and feeling kind of at peace and at ease, which I think all of you have said so far, is just kind of how happy we are despite the circumstances. And I don't think there's anything that we can do in our lives to replicate that feeling. So kudos to all of you. When you get your foot in the door, how did you get your foot in the door when you first started your career? Are there specific places that you looked for opportunities? Jamie, let's start with you.
Well, I had mentioned earlier that I took a UNC intensive with the artistic director of the Colorado Shakespeare Festival. And from there, I was offered an internship for that next summer. And it was a paid internship. And then from there, I was offered a company member position. So it's really just like, I guess, about networking from job to job. And like, if you are easy and a joy to work with, someone's going to want to work with you. And even though we get told no in our profession so very often, it's always good for you to say yes in your position. Like, yes, I'll try it. Yes, let's see how it goes. And also, just to piggyback off of all the no's we get, I try not to think of them as no's. I try to think of them as not right nows. So yeah, does that kind of answer the question?
That's a silver lining if I ever heard one. A no is a not right now or a not yet. Mm. Heather, you mentioned earlier about all the things that you did to get connected with your network, both in school and out of school. But any advice for anyone who's just starting off on how to get their toes wet?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it, for me, when it was, okay, how do I do this? I started looking at playbill.com. They list jobs in there, internships, all of the above, it's listed. And I figured out how to make the resume, and I just shot off everything, right? If you have any connection from a school person, right, a former alum, most performing arts colleges have that little Facebook group or performing arts Facebook group. Reach out, send a message, because from there, I can go, well, I don't know anyone that has an internship available right now, but let me ask my friends, because all of our offices need help. And so it's Playbill. It was entertainmentcareers.net offers a lot of does a lot of postings. Honestly, Facebook, just keeping your eyes open, make the resume, and just submit to everything. Now, if it says don't call, don't call. Follow instructions. If the email says your subject line should be this, subject line is that, and then follow up, a few days later, but don't keep going at it. But just every job option, every job opportunity that comes up, it's worth putting your hat in the ring, truly. The worst that happens is you get a not right now.
And that's just another opportunity waiting to be opened behind door number 3. Heather, as a follow-up question, yes. What qualities will help people set themselves apart from all the other hundreds of candidates vying for a position? We'll ask both Heather and Jamie that. Heather, you first.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on what we're talking about. Or like casting for like an office, hard work, being thorough, making sure you proofread, not being scared to ask someone to proofread your stuff for you. I had problems with that, and now every day I work alone in my house. I send an email to my friend my coworker that says, please look this over. Showing up on time. working hard, saying yes, trying your best, being knowledgeable, admitting when you don't know something, or when you mess up, admit that you messed up. I've learned a few of those lessons. For actors, again, it's kind of out of their hands. We've got a certain look that we're looking at, and our producers they're the ones that know. So we kind of just supply, a range of what they could possibly be looking at. And then from there, the producer and the directors, they decide. At that point, we can say like, hey, we know that this person has worked with Jamie before. They loved her. We know that she had great feedback, and that may tip her scale, right? So it's just, again, networking, and being a joy to work with and doing good work, and that will take you a long way.
Jamie, as an actor, how do you set yourself apart from the hundreds of other candidates vying for that one role?
Well, I guess it just means, you have to go in and be uniquely you. You're not going to get the part by trying to be what you think they want. You're going to get the part by being what you can put into the role. And that was a hard lesson to learn for myself. Also, be prepared as you possibly can be. And also continue that great work ethic. Be a person that someone wants to have in the room. And that's it. And like Heather said, the rest is kind of out of our hands, but just keep working and working hard.
Julio, you're in a field where your art speaks to folks, but when you're vying for that mural on a wall in downtown Denver, without giving them really a sample, you have to kind of speak with words. So how do you go about setting yourself apart from the many other artists trying to get that spot on Sports Authority Field or whatever it's called?
I think to piggyback on what Jamie said is you have to be unique. You have to be yourself, and the Denver mural scene has grown a lot, and there's a lot of competition, so anyone can paint a mural, anyone can paint you a wall, and there's people that just do beautiful artwork, but it's about how do you stand out, what makes you different from the other ones, and how you are gonna make a difference, how people are gonna notice you and not just see your work and being like, oh, it's just another mural. Like for myself, my work is very cultural inspired, so I think I have like have developed a unique style that people have tell me that it's people can recognize it without sometimes seeing the signature or whatever. So it's adding that little thing that's gonna make you unique from the other ones and special. And yeah, just be yourself. If you trying to copy other people styles work, it's people are gonna notice they're just gonna go for whoever's gonna stand out. They're gonna see whoever's different and not just something that is repetitive.
Sure. Julio, you did say that anyone can paint a mural, and I can promise you that's not the case. There's no way to be able to paint a mural. I'd call it space and just paint it black with some white dots, but it still wouldn't look as
I've seen murals like that, so.
There you go. That'll be mine someday down the road. Just to wrap up for today, so what's one final word of advice you can have for all the UNC Bears watching and currently seeking a position in your industry? Julio, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess for me, this is an advice I would want someone to tell me when I was in UNC, when I was a student, when I was taking my art, when I had my art degree and ended up changing to criminal justice. I wish I had someone telling me, just believe in yourself, and if the art major is really something that you're passionate about, do your research. Because in myself, I had zero. I didn't do my research on help, like for example, like the city of any city has a lot of help for artists, a lot of art calls, and there's a lot of networking that you can do. There's a lot of people that can help you. There's a lot of things that are specifically for artists, for muralists, and that was those were things that I didn't know at first. So I mean, for someone starting art, it's kind of scary to, yeah, I'm a graduate, and then what am I gonna do? So if you know more that there's a lot of help for artists that from the city, from different agencies, nonprofits, just do your research and just learn more about it, because if it's like I said, if it's really your passion, and it's gonna work out, because you're gonna put everything you have in it. And but I guess my most important advice can be to just be confident in yourself, and because if you don't show that confidence, people are gonna notice that, and they're just not gonna take you serious. And like I said, they're gonna forget about you. But when they see that you're really passionate about what you're doing, and then you take things serious, they're gonna notice it you. So I mean, I guess my advice is just also just believe in yourself, and just don't listen to what other people will tell you, because like I said, at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your career. You're gonna leave it, and it's not. They're gonna forget about what they say. Just concentrate on your passion, and it's gonna work out. I mean, and like I said, there's a lot of help, a lot of networking. It's like the main thing that is gonna help you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julio. Heather, what piece of advice would you give to any UNC Bear as they head into their career path?
I would say, be game for anything. If something comes your way and it seems scary, do it. We're not here in our industries. We're actually not saving lives, whether people want to remember that or not. It's oftentimes not so serious. In the grand scheme of things, there will be an actor on set tomorrow. It may not be who we thought it would be, and we may be up all night, but tomorrow there will be an actor on set. It's TV. It's really not that serious. So just work hard, have faith in yourself, find your mentors, and use your mentors, ask them questions, and it will truly get you far. But I would say most seriously, it's really not that serious.
Well, I think so. Some of the TV shows I watch, I try to base my life off of. No, I'm just kidding. But you can have that impact. Jamie, for you, what's that final word of advice for an aspiring UNC Bear actor seeking a position?
Well, I mean, kind of everything that Julio and Heather said already, but I would tack onto that your education doesn't end with UNC. Keep taking classes, consider graduate school, tape yourself, see what you're doing wrong, what you're doing well, make your TikToks, do your own content. Just keep educating yourself and you will go far.
Oh, do you want to say one more thing on that? Watch everything. Watch everything. If you have the time, turn on the Netflix, turn on the Disney Plus, turn on the HBO Max, learn who actors are, learn who your brand is, and really watch everything if you can, and read.
Heather, does that include the Tiger King?
Yeah, of course. There's going to be a movie about it. So yes.
Perfect. Good to know. My advice would be authentic and be yourself. Trying to pretend you're anything other than yourself is just you won't be as satisfied with what you're doing in your career, and take those risks. So be authentic and be genuine, because people can see that. People can see that authenticity that you have, and they'll know they can trust that, and they'll appreciate working with you and want to work with you more and want to build that network, that friendship, that relationship. Is something I wish I had known a long time ago. Not that I was inauthentic, I just didn't embrace who I was for so long. And now that I have, my career's just been thriving and flourishing. And then take risks. you never know what you might like to do without actually trying it. And if it's just an uncomfortable Saturday morning volunteering at a food bank, but you met some great people, or you really loved what you did, that could be helping you nudge in a different direction. If you have performance anxiety and you can't overcome it, maybe performing is not the thing. Maybe you want to go behind the scenes. So try as much as you can and don't be afraid. And networking is a really hard thing to do. I mean, we're stepping out of our comfort zones, especially if you're an introverted type of person. I'm an introverted extrovert. I like being home, but I also love communicating and chatting with people, but I know what my limits and my boundaries are. And the more that you test those, the more you'll know yourself and the more confident that you'll be in your career, in your life. You'll feel like you're living your best life no matter what you're doing. So that would be my advice. So any other questions that we have out there to wrap up? All right, our final question. We have a few minutes left. Just really quickly, what's everyone's favorite memory from when you were at UNC or when you spent your time here in Greeley, Colorado? Let's start with you, Julio.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to say that I work at the Cesar Chavez Cultural Center for like 3 years. So I guess most of my memories are about the Cesar Chavez Cultural Center, and I thank them a lot for a lot. They helped me a lot through my career at UNC, and I mean all the awesome events, and it just felt like and we always say that it's a home away from home, because I'm from Denver, and for me it was kind of, I never thought I was gonna go to college the first place. I'm a first generation student, so it was really awesome to find like a family in the center, in the Cesar Chavez Center. So I mean, that's one of my best memories in college.
Heather, what's one of your favorite memories from UNC?
I mean, I truly just have to think it probably comes down to all the long hours spent in Fraser on the stage, at the Langworthy Theater. While I don't do it anymore, it made me who I am today. And I'm lucky enough that I, have moved to New York, and I get to see all the Broadway shows and the off-Broadway shows and the plays, and a lot of it stems from the long hours performing and rehearsing and just like hanging out with our little pod of theater and musical theater majors and Romas, but I don't think it's there anymore.
Oh, it's still there.
Okay. Romas for sure.
Hurricanes next time you're all in town. Jamie, what about you? What's a great memory you've had?
I think it's much the same as Heather. It's just like all of our friends and our community and our family that we made in Fraser, and those long hours in those classrooms rehearsing scenes and trying to figure it out. And also Margie's. I spent so much of my life in that beautiful coffee shop with those wonderful people. Also go visit John Galt Coffee too, run by TJ. It's really great. But my time at UNC was invaluable, and it really truly has shaped who I am today, and I am so grateful.
Yeah, I think the lifelong friendships I've made from UNC, friends that I'll call best friends forever, it's been great. But the weirdest thing I did at UNC was when I built a stormtrooper costume, and well, that's a story for another time. And right when I got it all complete before my first event with the 501st Legion and Lucasfilm was walk around UNC the day before spring break as everyone's taking their midterms, and just randomly walking into lecture halls in my full screen used stormtrooper costume. And that was my first day in that costume. And I know I put a lot of smiles on people's faces just going around and being kind of goofy and embracing my love of Star Wars. That's one of my memories. Thank you all so much. It was a privilege to moderate you all and chat with you for an hour. I wish we could do this a little more often because that was a lot of fun, but appreciate everyone listening in, all the questions, and I'll hand it back to Norma.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us today and sharing such great industry insight and such great memories of your time at UNC. To everyone watching, thank you for joining your fellow Bears this afternoon. I hope that you learned as much as I did, and I had goosebumps the entire event with the panelists' response. It took me back to my experience at UNC, and a lot of what you all shared resonated with me as well. I look forward to seeing all of you at our upcoming alumni career panels. We have a couple more for the remaining of the fall. To see a list of our upcoming events, visit our website at www.unco.edu/alumni/careers. Again, thank you all so very much for your time and your thoughtfulness this afternoon. See you all soon, and go Bears.